I'm Ray.
I'm James, and welcome to episode 6
of A Brief History of Nothing. James, you want to talk about the Nepalese earthquake?
Yes, unfortunately on Saturday we had a 7.8 magnitude quake in Nepal. The current estimated dead is north of 4,000, unfortunately. Okay, a little bit of background. Now, the Himalayas are caused by two convergent plates, or a convergent boundary of two plates. Those plates tectonic plates being the Indian-Australian plate and the Eurasian plate. Now, they push together, and if I can explain with my hands here, now what essentially happens is the Indian plate goes underneath the Eurasian plate, and the Eurasian plate gets pushed up, and that's what causes the Himalayas. Now, what has happened is a lot of pressure and stress has built up over several decades, and the last quake there was about 1934, I believe. I may be wrong, but over those decades, the pressure has built up and up and up and up and up, and apparently it's finally released. Now, a lot of homes have crumbled, a lot of people are homeless, a lot of religious buildings, and even a lot of hospitals are now damaged. The hospitals that are in operation are just simply overrun with the wounded, and I will link to some charities in the description if you feel you want to donate to the cause. There's a lot of aid needed, both food and medicine.
Water, they desperately need clean water.
And they need clean water. There's also several people that were visiting Mount Everest at the time. I'll just get my hair out of my face.
There's about 700 Australians unaccounted for at the moment?
Unaccounted for, so they're declared missing. There is a confirmation of a lady from Melbourne who has died, but the biggest problem was as soon as those quakes hit, it triggered massive avalanches on Mount Everest, and the camps 1 and 2, as well as the base camp, were inundated with avalanches and were basically covered in ice.
Yes. So that's where the Australian woman they know has died. She was at the base camp.
And she's buried under ice and suffocated.
Yes, which is a very frightening way to go, I would have thought.
Yeah. So yeah, as our thoughts are with the families of those who've died.
And those that are missing.
Those that are missing, because that's terrible. You don't know. You don't know are they alive? Are they dead? Are they?
Yes, it would be so hard for these people. So very hard.
Yes. On that, and then sort of segue into earthquakes and that kind of thing. Now, up on my monitor off camera here, I have, because I'm struggling to remember the names of them. There's 3 main types of faults that cause this. Now, a normal fault is when the two parts can either be a plate boundary, but sometimes it isn't. It's a fault where the Earth is pulled apart. It's called a normal fault. Now, sometimes magma will come up and actually fill the crack in, and in the Mid-Atlantic Trench, this is what happens. It's actually a normal fault, so the Earth is actually pulled apart and magma comes in and actually fills the crack there. As I said, the thrust fault, that's what caused the earthquake in Nepal.
They're being pushed together.
And that's also what caused the Himalayan mountains. There's also what's called a Struxed fault, where 2 plates or 2 pieces of it are being pushed across from one another, yes. And that's what causes the San Andreas fault.
Yes, that's
a Struxed fault, and that causes a lot of tremors in San Francisco and along the west coast of the United States.
Yes, the main quake, as you said, was 7.8, but they've had aftershocks up around 6.
Oh, north of 6 on the Richter scale.
Yes.
Like, they're continually trying to pull people out of they're finally getting heavy equipment in to move some of the rubble to get people out of trapped in buildings and what have you.
Yeah, that's really sad.
Yeah, and hopefully Monday maybe we will be able to predict, because at the moment we can't predict earthquakes.
No, we can't predict.
Hi, we're here.
Yes.
So hopefully we can one day predict these things and be able to evacuate people within enough time to, get people out of there.
Well, that's what they're talking about, things of such nature, and the Yellowstone National Park, and that's a big caldera, I think they call them.
Yeah, it's a big volcanic crater essentially.
Yes, and they've found that the magma chamber underneath it is big. But what they found now is a second chamber that's 4.5 times the size of the magma chamber underneath that. And now that they've figured that out, they're monitoring that chamber, because that's what will cause
an eruption.
They've got basically a funnel down towards the core of the Earth, and that's being fed up to that second chamber, and then that's what's keeping the magma chamber hot. And so if that something goes wrong with that second chamber, that's when
panic will ensue.
Yeah, it goes to hell in a handbasket. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Now
we have, on a much lighter note,
yes,
we have something a bit out of the ordinary. Now, NASA have been working on an electromagnetic drive, so they can actually manoeuvre craft and what have you without having to use chemical propellant. So they can use their, rocket fuel for the go bit rather than the manoeuvre bit. And when I don't know exactly how this works. I haven't been able to find exactly how this new drive works. But when they've been using lasers in the resonance chamber of this new drive, what they're finding is that some of the photons are actually apparently travelling faster than light. This experiment's been done in orbit, but they're not sure yet. But they think they may be on on the cusp of creating a warp bubble that's sustainable, so they can actually might be able to do interstellar travel and have warp drive. But again, this is only early days yet. We don't know 100%. It's like when they thought those neutrinos went faster than light.
Yeah, but they didn't.
But they didn't. They went slightly less than light, because as soon as they noticed them, they went, wait a minute, something's not right here. So that's when they decided they'd look into it further, and that's when they found out there was actually their measuring equipment was actually
slightly askew.
Slightly askew, and that's what caused the... because if it ended up being faster than light... I've dropped my mouse. Excuse me a moment. If they ended up being faster than light, it would have completely thrown special and general relativity out the door. That's wrong.
Right. Now, I don't know if you could pick it up on camera, but I'm meant to look dead. I've had a little bit of special effects makeup done by my daughter. Just thought I'd something different, do that, see how it looks.
He's undead.
Yes.
He's frozen.
Yeah, so I'm actually a corpse this evening. One of the few talking, moving corpses that you see.
What I actually did was, I just put some, really light coloured cream makeup and then just some, purple under the eyes to make them look sunken in and a little bit kind of, when you just wake up in the morning and you're underneath your eyes are really purple. And just some red blotchy, so it looks like some blood vessels have come to the surface, and just really simple stuff.
Yeah, so we just thought we'd highlight that and have a bit of fun. Right, talking about fun, we have decided to have a bad joke competition. Now, we have a new email address that will be for the show, which we will put on the...
Put it in the description.
We'll put it in the description, and so you can send your email your bad jokes in. Now, this is we will decide which is the best bad joke, and what we have for prize is...
Oh, we don't need to model one or model the other. So this is a fountain pen.
It's black and gold and chrome by the look of it.
I'll see if we can get that a bit closer to the camera, so we can see that. And it's got the gold-plated tip on it.
And we have a fashion watch, and that's the prize for the bad joke competition. We'll run it for a month for people to email us the jokes, and when we decide who's the best, we'll get in contact with them and send them an email saying that you have a fabulously bad joke and you've won a great prize.
Yes, it has to be the most groan-worthy joke, but I think we should sort of say that we don't want really dirty jokes.
It's not jokes like horse walks into a bar, the barman looks at the horse and goes, "Why the long face?"
Yeah, or two atoms walk down the street, one loses an electron and says, "I think I've lost an electron." The second one says, "You sure?" The first one says, "I'm positive." really like, oh god, sort of jokes like that.
Yeah. Yes. Cringeworthy is
Cringeworthy jokes.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that. And yeah, we'll put that in the description. But yeah, nothing. Look, keep it clean though. Don't use any.
Well, I mean, we're not a nunnery here, so it can be a little
dirty, but don't just like, oh, swearing was the joke. That's not going to win, guys. Just.
Okay, now in Australia we've just had Anzac Day on the weekend, and I'd just like to make a comment about our Prime Minister Tony Abbott's speech. I'm not a Tony Abbott fan, so from the outset. So
yeah, neither am I. Yeah, complicated reasons, but yeah.
But having said that, I thought that the speech he gave at the dawn service was an extremely well written speech, extremely well delivered. He delivered it like a person honouring fallen soldiers, not like a politician delivering a speech. And I thought that was very well done, and it was a very moving speech. And I thought he made Australia look good.
Yeah, well, yeah, he has he has been known to fumble a few times. Yes, quite embarrassingly, but if he, when he wants to do a good speech,
yes,
he can do a good speech. Now, you wanted to talk about someone who, Indian lady in the United States that.
Yes, that's interesting. Yes.
We've got our monitor here, so what is it called? Again, I'll look down. There's the lady there. It is
called a Tropetomas.
No.
Tropetomas?
I think it was up here somewhere. We're really professional, aren't we?
Yes.
I mean, what was it?
That's...
Carmen, yeah. That's her name.
Yeah, she was an Indian lady who went to America to study computer. She was a PhD student, but in computing. And when long after getting to America, she started feeling unwell and very tired and lethargic, and
couldn't focus on conversations. There's the distractions around.
She'd gone from being an extremely brilliant student, extremely brilliant person, to someone who could struggle to understand small sentences. And she was going to the doctors, and eventually after scans they discovered what they thought was a cyst on her pineal gland.
Pineal gland, yes.
Yes, it's a pea-shaped gland in your brain.
Mm.
And they thought the risk of surgery was way too high. Anyway, they contacted a clinic in Los Angeles called Skull Base, and they said they could probably do something with it, but it would looking at about $34,000 to have it done. Her family and friends raised the money. She went to this Skull Base, and they drilled a hole in her head and passed a endoscope through, and they said no, it's a tumour. And then when they went to remove it, found that it was a growth that was made up of bone and teeth and hair, and that's what these teratomas are.
Yeah.
Some medicos think they're an undeveloped twin. Not hugely unusual, in as much, well, in normal cases a non-surviving twin will be reabsorbed in, but there was a guy named Gavin in England who had a lump in his abdomen, and eventually the lump came out, and it was a partially developed fetus.
Yeah, the guy actually was like uncontrollably bleeding from his belly button. He went to the doctor, and was the doctor's surgery, and that's your problem.
Yes, so it's not hugely, a little unusual, but not hugely unusual for an infant to be born with a partially developed infant attached, fetus attached, but one in the brain is very unusual. And once they removed this tumour from this girl's pineal gland, she's now making a full recovery. But yes,
back to a normal self.
Back to a normal self, yes. But yeah, it's very unusual, and there was a bit of a surprise to the doctors. They weren't expecting to find a tumour that had teeth and bone and hair.
Yeah, well, also in India, there was a girl who was born with an extra set of limbs.
Yes, that sometimes happens.
But it was out in the villages and stuff because Hinduism obviously is big.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's where
Well,
Hinduism comes from. And of course, people out there were very deeply religious and stuff, and that was causing a lot of complications because people were like worshipping her. Oh, because a lot of Hindu gods have extra limbs and yeah.
Okay. Now the next thing, my review tonight is about a TV show called Falling Skies. Now it stars Noah Weil as a character named Tom Mason, who it's about the world. It's set about almost a year after an alien attack, and militia force formed into militias. It's set in the United States because it's a United States series, and they are trying to combat the aliens. And as they go through, and the group they're talking is it's based. They were based in Massachusetts. It's the second Massachusetts, which was a militia regiment in the American War of Independence, and they're all basically around that. And it's what they go through and how they survive and how they combat the aliens and the interactions between each other and
because there's not a lot of the aliens involved. There's a lot of the human stories. I mean, you see the aliens and they fight them, but it's more about the human stories about the situation rather than... You've got some familiar faces that you may not necessarily know the name of. And it's shenanigans off camera, by the way.
You might... it might be worth if you can get on Netflix or one of those. Just look it up. I mean, it's coming into its fifth and final season now. That's why I thought I'd have a talk about it, because this season it's about to start is the last season. But Steven Spielberg is the executive producer, so it's got some credentials. And Noah Weil, well, he's from ER. He was one of the doctors in ER, so,
And if you're a Hannah Montana fan, it's got Drew Roy in it.
Drew Roy, that's right, yes. Yes. For those of you who are Hannah Montana fans. Like me.
Yes, because I watch it religiously.
I was 10 when it started, okay? I like Hannah Montana. I watch a bit of Hannah Montana.
Yeah, get into it. It does show a bit of
blood and guts and violence.
Yes.
Not too much though, I don't think.
Not too much, and it's there to progress the story along. It's not just there for the sake of being there.
Yeah. So it's probably not for the kiddies. It's probably 14, 15 and up. But it's well done. Obviously, Steven Spielberg wouldn't put his name to rubbish. Well worth a look.
All right.
Okay, so just a reminder on the that's. You can take that one and show.
I can take that one.
And I'll show that one. Just a reminder for the prizes for the bad joke competition, and we'll put the email link on the description. All right.
That's it. That's us, guys. See you later.